Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Well-Read Black Girl and today I'll be making vanilla cupcakes. So here are the tools and ingredients you will be needing. So that's my flour, my sugar, my eggs, butter, baking powder, milk, salt and vanilla extract. So here we go. So I prefer to use a whisk to first mix my flour to make sure there are no clusters anywhere. So that's me mixing my baking powder in. So I also prefer to whisk in between steps, yeah, so that everything gets in. Sorry about the lipstick rolling around. We'll get to that shortly. Yeah. Now I'll be adding in my salt, literally a pinch. You can almost not see it. So we'll also mix that in properly. Just for a few minutes to make sure we get everything and to make sure nothing is sticking to the bowl. They are all powdery and they are all smooth. So here we have, now we've got into the wet ingredients. I prefer to mix the dry ingredients together separately, set aside, and then get to the wet ingredients. So here I have my butter softened. Don't worry, the exact measurements will be in the description so you can get to it. Yeah, so I prefer to use melted butter so that it helps my sugar melting easily. You can almost see the sugar disappearing. Yeah, I can see it. You can almost see the sugar disappearing. Yeah. Mixing it properly to make sure that there are no grains of sugar still standing before I mix in my egg. Yeah, so I'll be using 1 egg for this because I'm only making 6 cupcakes. If you were making 12, you'd be using 2. But don't worry, I will include that in the description. I'll include how to get those measurements sorted. And there we have our milk mixing in. Yeah, you can see the color is not only changing, but the texture is also changing. It's still running, but it looks a little bit thicker. And then after mixing all the wet ingredients together, you pour in your dry ingredients slowly. I prefer to pour in slowly so that I know exactly the amount of dry ingredients I would be needing. Sometimes I end up with a little dry ingredients left over, which will of course go towards making the next batch. But it's also so that my cake doesn't end up thick, crumbling or cookie like. Yeah, so that's why I mix in slowly, and I always make sure it's thoroughly mixed. Yeah, so I also do this because doing this process, mixing and mixing, introduces a little bit of hair into the cake, which makes it fluffy and moist, giving it the texture we all love and we always want to see when walking to a bakery. Yeah, so here it's slightly runny, so I'm just going to mix in the rest of my dry ingredients. But you can see the texture is already slaying. So so mixing, yes. So you can see that blue thing on my whisk. It's to help me scrape down without having to use a spatula. Yes, I will use a spatula in this video, and it is one of the tools I introduced earlier. But here you will also see me using the blue stuff to scrape down. So you have to mix for like 2 to 3 minutes. I don't have an electric mixer, which is why I'm using a manual whisk. So you have to do this for like 3 to 4 minutes to make sure everything is properly mixed and to make sure that it already looks fluffy. It's already promising a moist, fluffy cupcake. Yeah. So you can see me using the blue stuff to I don't know if you can see me. yeah, using the blue stuff to scrape down the sides. Yeah, and then I'll do a little mix again. So you can see the hair trapped in the cake already. You can see it bobbing up to the surface. Yeah, that's what you want. That's what you want to work towards. And yeah, I'm doing a little bit of mixing again, and then setting down and turning on my oven, preheating my oven. If your oven is I think the modern type, you guys use Fahrenheit, or the American type, you guys use Fahrenheit. So you should be preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. But if you are using Celsius, you should be doing 180. And also I find that it's better if your oven comes with instructions for different pastries and baked goods. Mine does, so it already tells me how much time I should set and temperature I should set for a cookie, I should set for a pizza, I should set for a cake. It's not always accurate, which is why I like to include the particular temperature in my videos. Oh, this is my first, so more will be coming soon. Yeah, so this is me now scraping and making sure it's folding well into my paper foils. So I'm also using thin and paper fold muffin cups here, because I like to have cakes of different texture. Now the thin foil will cook longer. Most times will cook longer than the paper foil, which is why somewhere in this video I would be removing the thin foils from the paper foils so that each one can cook well. You don't want to have cakes with gooey inside. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I like it that way. Sometimes I intentionally do have it that way, but today we would not be doing that, so I had to remove it. So you can see how it folds nicely into the paper cups. You can see that. Yeah, that's what you want it to do. That's the texture you want. And if you want the top to really want to introduce some more hair, you can just take a tablespoon, stir around the cupcake, the batter in the cups before you pop it to the oven. So here they are 15 minutes later, looking gorgeous. So these broken tops are because I had to open the oven at a point. I did forget some things inside before putting the cakes in, so I had to extract them. So more hair got into the oven, and that's why it's broken. It has a broken top. But now see what the inside looks like. Can you see that texture? Can you see how it breaks without crumbling, leaving all those bread-like crumbs? So thank you.